Welcome, welcome. So many lovely faces. Happy Friday, everybody. Just want to check. Can you see my screen share? Give me a thumbs up if you
Yes,
can see it. Okay,
I can see.
awesome. Great.
1, 2, 3.
Fabulous. All right, we've got a few others joining in the waiting room. Wonderful. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. All right, we've got Atlanta represented here. Hello, Southeast. Cincinnati. I see Anne Marie, smiling face. Wonderful. Portland, welcome, Joe. Welcome, George from Edmonton. Nigel from London. Amazing. Monica, good to see you from Tampa. Fabulous. Glad to have you all here. All right. Thank you for spending time on your Friday with these lovely people here in the room. We've got hello from Seattle. Hi from North Dakota. Feeling okay. All right. Good to hear that, Lyle. Awesome. Let me see. We've got a couple of other folks coming in from the waiting room. Wonderful. This is great. We've got an international group. We've got, hey, somebody from Dublin, Ireland. Hi, Barat. Nice to see you. Wonderful. Kansas City. Hi, Jeff. Welcome. All right, we're just going to give another minute or two for a couple other folks to join us. Okay. All right. So we are spending some time talking about making a positive impact today. So I'm so happy to have you all here. Welcome, Kim from California. This is really a wonderful time for us to explore working on kind of how we're feeling about our work and making a positive impact in the ways that we can do that. So we've got a few more people coming in now. We'll just add them into the group. Feel free to get yourself comfortable. This is time for you. So I'd like to encourage you to do whatever you need to. If you want to be on camera and share your face, that's awesome. That contributes to the positive energy in the room. If you feel more comfortable staying off camera, that is totally fine. So don't feel any pressure to show up in any way that's not comfortable for you. Hi, Ram from California. Good to see you. Okay, so I'm going to put in the chat here a handbook that we can use as we're working through our exercises today. This is supposed to be very interactive, experiential for you, not just me talking, but some reflection time, some opportunity for you to share your thoughts with others in the chat if that's comfortable for you. I'm going to go ahead and put this file here in the chat. This is what we call the Happy Agile Coaches Handbook. So I know we've got a lot of people on the call. Some are agile coaches, maybe some are not agile coaches. I think if you are not an agile coach and you're wondering, I don't know if this is going to work for me, I would just encourage you to think, the concepts that we're talking about here today are pretty broadly applicable. So it's positive psychology, it's things to help us feel good about the work that we're doing. If you are an agile coach, a lot of that work that we do in this space can be really challenging. We're passionate about it, but there's a lot out there to kind of be bringing folks down, especially these days. So hopefully be a little boost for your spirits, and we'll see what happens as a result. So I just want to take a moment and introduce myself. So I'm Michelle Pock. I'm the founder of Streamside Coaching, and I work as a leadership coach and an agile coach. And I'm really passionate about creating a space for people who are trying to help others be successful in their work and to have humane work environments, helping them feel like they have that as well. So a lot of times we give if we're in a spirit of service or we try to serve others. It can be difficult to make the space that we need for our own thriving and flourishing. So today is all about you. So I'd like to encourage you as we're working through these exercises to be as selfish as you might allow yourself to be. So, thinking of you are a person who is deserving of as much of a wonderful work environment that you create for others. So today is about exploring that. And there's good reason for us to do this. It's not just purely selfish or indulgent. So one of the core ideas that we're sharing here today is research that's been done on positive psychology over the last several decades. And what we've seen here from lots and lots of studies, that happiness and optimism actually fuel performance and achievement. So if we're thinking, oh, well, I'll feel good when, I succeed, or, I need to focus on my work, and, happiness comes as a result, there's a lot of evidence that shows that it's the reverse. So if we want to do a better job for our clients, for the people that we're serving, one of the best ways to make sure that happens is to take care of our own needs and make sure that we're getting what we need to really flourish and thrive. So if that was the justification you needed to feel great, there you go. Feel free to provide your own. But that's what we'll be exploring today. Okay, so we've got a pretty full agenda. We're going to be spending time in this hour and a half exploring 5 specific strategies for amplifying your positive impact. So that's impact on yourself and impact on those that you're serving and those around you.
Hey, Michelle.
Yeah.
Just wanted to check, by any means, do you plan to record this session?
Yes, it is. It is being recorded right now. Let me just confirm that that is the case. Yep, we are recording. We are recording. So that.
Good. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for asking. All right, we've got a couple other folks just coming in right now. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got a few more joining. So what we're going to spend our hour and a half together doing are exploring these 5 strategies for amplifying your positive impact. We're going to come away with your own personalized roadmap for thriving in 2024. And when I say roadmap, I don't want anyone to get overly twisted about that. This is like a place to start. So if you're familiar with agile ways of working, you know that we're iterating, we're inspecting, we're adapting. So we're coming up with what are some things that we might want to try to create more of in our life that would help us really thrive in the work that we're doing. So this will be a personal application of the ideas we're talking about. We're going to spend time doing that today. And we're also going to hopefully create some new connections and community support. So the beautiful thing is I could have recorded all of this and just talked at all of you, but the magic that's going to happen here is all of the people that have joined this call. So right now we've got 30 people on the call. Maybe out of those 30 people, you make one new friend, I don't know, or find someone that you can share with. So that's one of our goals for today, is that we got a little time for some connection and some support from people who are working towards the same kinds of things. So anything that you are hoping to leave our time today with, anything that I haven't mentioned that is important to you to come away from this hour and a half? I'll go ahead and put in the workbook again. So if you have a thought, something that you're hoping for from today's session and you feel like sharing it, go ahead and put it in the chat. Something that you're hoping to take away from this time. So your time is valuable and precious. You've chosen to spend it here. I'll just give a little space if you're thinking about that, if anyone wants to share something they'd like to take away from today. Okay. Oh, positivity from Nigel. Yeah, let's do that. What else? Anything else that somebody wants to take away from our time together? Clarity, Anne Marie. Thank you. Yeah. Inspiration, says Juju. Yeah. Wonderful. Carolyn, breaking the negativity currently in the agile neighborhoods, in my perception. Yeah, I think you pointed your finger on the pulse of what's at least a lot of the social media today. Yeah, Jessica says, better able to acknowledge my positive impact. Monica, creating positive impact with renewing mindset. Yeah. How to influence teams and make your positivity contagious, Srirachi. I love that. Okay, all right. I'm hoping for all of us that these things come true in the next 90 minutes. So let's do our best to help each other meet those goals that we have for this time, creating positivity, inspiring mindset, finding ways to really counteract what's very present in the environment today. So we have natural negativity bias that just floods our inboxes, floods our social media feeds, floods our brains. But we can do something about that. And so hopefully we get some of that going today. Michael says, learn something new, recharge my agile batteries. Love that. Okay, wonderful. So let's go ahead and I'll just share a little bit more about what how we're going to spend the time. We're going to spend the first hour or so looking at these strategies together. I'm going to share just a little bit about some of the positive psychology research behind it, pepper in some of my own experience applying these ideas, and then we're going to put in, do the work with the handbook and do some guided reflection. So we'll spend an hour, working through some guided reflection together, and then the last half we're going to make a sprint plan. So why don't we try putting what we're learning into action? What would that look like for us? So we'll have, hopefully you're leaving today with something actionable, tangible that you can apply. If you all indulge me, I'd love to do a little bit of breakout rooms at the end so you get a chance to connect with somebody else one-on-one. I know some people may not be into that, so that's totally cool. But we'll have some time to do a little connection and then wrap up at the end. So that's what to expect from today. Let's go ahead and get started. So just one last time, I'm going to put in the chat the handbook that we're going to be using just in case you're just joining. So that looks like this, the Happy Agile Coaches Handbook. So we're going to be working through this as a reflection today. So we're going to start with one that is maybe my favorite because I think it might be the easiest. So this is this idea around feeling good, or the positive psychology research, they talk about it as positive emotions. And one of the things that is really interesting about this is, most in the common, just generalized thinking, most people think, oh, we feel happy as a result of something going well. Like that is, we have the happy feelings or positive feelings are an outcome of something that has happened externally to us. And when we think about positive emotions from a positive psychology standpoint, we learned that they are useful. And if we think about how we can use positive emotions to build on success and to create some resources internally, then we start to think about them in a little bit of a different way. So um, when we're talking about positive emotions, we are thinking about things like joy, love, gratitude, hope, pride, contentment, curiosity. So, there's a whole range of things that we might feel that are going to put us in a good mood when you're experiencing one of those emotions. So there's been a lot of studies on this, that we are, more likely to experience what they call a broaden and build. So when you have a positive emotion, you're going to have like an urge to explore things, to be creative, to think about different ways of interacting with your environment. That openness provides greater resources for you to do things in a different way. And once we've got those resources in hand, we're a little bit more resilient when something negative happens. So there's when we're perceiving options, when we're feeling like flexible, creative, interested, engaged, obviously we're going to do better. We're going to perform better. So we're not trying here to say that, if you have a negative emotion, you need to just pretend that away and, put something positive in its place. Instead, what we're saying, if we focus on creating, things that we know create positive emotions for us, if we do that in a proactive kind of way, we can kind of set ourselves up for greater levels of success and flourishing. So just to share like a little bit of my personal experience with this, I've done a little bit of hacking on how do I start my day. So I am not a morning person. I do not like getting up early in the morning. Normally I'm very grumpy, at least until I've had a cup or two of coffee. What I found as part of that is I was just kind of rolling into whatever meeting I had and not making any time for myself to feel anything good before I started the day. So I started doing some little things like, okay, I enjoy reading poetry. If I spend just 2 minutes reading a poem before I start my day, all of a sudden I might feel, like a sense of wonder because I've, gotten an image from a poem that is inspiring me in a new way. And then, as I'm flooded with that positive emotion, I go into a meeting, I might feel more relaxed or more at ease or more comfortable. So I encourage you to think about as we move through this reflection now, um, what some things that might be helpful for you in generating on purpose, intentionally for yourself, these kinds of positive emotions and how they might affect your work in the day. So let's start from a place of what are we already doing that is helpful for us. So it's not that we always, we I hope no one on this call feels bad all the time about everything. I hope that there are parts of your day at least that have spark a little bit of joy. And that maybe if you're in a really tough work situation or if you're out of work, it may have nothing to do with your job. It may have something to do with, having a time with your family, for instance. So just as we work through this reflection, we're looking at now on this page 2 in your workbook, feeling good. When do you typically feel best during the day? So any thoughts here? I see Marguerite adding, yeah, days feel differently when I take 10 minutes to enjoy my coffee before jumping into email work. Thank you, Marguerite. That's absolutely, yes, taking just a moment to savor. I see her savoring right now. Her coffee. So if you're reflecting on that, go ahead and reflect on that privately if you want, or if you want to put something in the chat. When do you typically feel best during the day? What does that look like? What does that look like? I'm just going to be a little quiet, allow a little space for reflection. When do you typically feel best during the day? And as you think about that, what is it about you or your environment during those times that puts you in a good mood? I always see Jessica, I definitely feel better when I break up my day by having a midday workout. It gets me out of the house, gets me. Me too. I've been doing that for years. It's awesome. Baratz's mornings as I start my day. Sirachi, right after working out or after dancing. Yes, if you happen to have privacy in your workspace, taking like 2 minutes to do a little dance party before you know you're going to go into a difficult conversation, that can really help. You've just like flooded your brain with these lovely endorphins or a little bit of dopamine or something. You're just, walking into that armed with the positive neurotransmitters that are going to help you have a better experience. So wonderful. Anything else? Oh, Kumar, if I finish workout on time and breakfast on time. Yeah, so keeping to a routine that can be helpful. So as you think about this, what is it about you or your environment that puts you in a good mood? Is there something reliable about that you can design into your day? Just be thinking about that and feel free to share if you've got something to add in for the group. And as you consider that, oh, we've got George saying very early morning when the whole family is asleep and I can have my me time. I love that. Yes. Vicky says, I'm energized when I get to hang out with agile coaches. Woo! Yeah, exactly. Community. So sometimes we might like beat up on ourselves about, oh, I need to do something productive, like work on an email or, some PowerPoint or whatnot. And I shouldn't be taking time to just hang out with a friend or have a chat. Vicky, you're seeing when you do that, that makes you feel good. That's worth it. That's worth it. David says, singing to the radio on my way to work, even though I'm not a good. Yes, I love that. Just belting it out. Getting some fresh breath into your lungs. It's wonderful. So cool and friendly people around me puts me in a good mood. Yes, absolutely. Choosing who you're associating with. Do they boost you up? Do they bring you down? We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. Nigel says tiny tweaks, stop reading the news. Yeah, yeah. So if your habit is like many people, first thing you do in the morning, look at your smartphone, look at your email, and that whatever fresh hell has come through there or the news, it can be really easy to get stuck in a negative spiral just the first thing in the day. So maybe there's something to do instead that's uplifting before you get into that. I see a very positive, like very strong tiny tweaks there about the news, Nigel. That's great. Okay. Any other tiny tweaks? Might be changing the time of day that you do something. So if you save all of your fun for the end of the day, can you sneak something in like in the morning or at the middle of the day, in a break, a 5-minute break? Okay. Wonderful. Okay. So any other insights that we've gotten from this first reflection here on feeling good? Anything that anybody wants to share as we've been working through these thoughts and seeing what others have contributed to the conversation? If you'd like, you can take yourself off of mute. That's totally cool. Any thoughts there to share? Okay. All right. We'll have more space later. If you were just about to say something, go ahead and say Nigel, you came off of mute. I don't mean to put you on the spot if you didn't, but if you want to, you can.
That same way speaking, I mean, accidentally, but I find the news incredibly frustrating
Yeah,
and negative, and because that's what sells, and people forget
yeah.
about all the positive stuff. So I'm going to stop reading the news so much. How's that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I read something like several years ago. It's a book by the Compassionate Life by the Dalai Lama, and talks about the news. He's like, you know why it's news? Like no, because it's exceptional, because it doesn't happen all the time. So like man was like lovely to his wife and brought her flowers doesn't make the news. Or like, parents cared for their children, or, so and so went to work and did a good job today. That doesn't make because that's the norm. So when you realize that, like, oh, well, that's okay. Like if I think about, the things I'm reading that are horrible are actually exceptions to what normal life is like. It kind of that I found a very useful thing to keep in my mind. All right, we've got a couple other thoughts here. Kumar saying getting a call from a childhood friend. After a long time, I had thought, oh, that's wonderful. I see Monica adding like quiet time in the morning to set my mood. Also during the day, getting out in the sun, taking a walk always helps me. Yes, these things, everything that you all have shared so far, sounds to me to be very accessible and very doable on a daily basis. So far, no one has said anything like, well, I only feel good if I take a very exotic vacation for 3 weeks at a time. These things that you've talked about are things that you can do on a daily basis, and they're there for us whenever we need them. I see Anne Marie adding tiny tweaks interrupts our default autopilot brain starts to rewire us for love and positivity. I love that. Awesome. Oh, Maria, get to the office early, have breakfast with people. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just taking a little extra time to savor what we're doing. Okay, we're going to go ahead to the next one, which is impact and purpose. And as we think about this, again, I'm going to share a little bit about what we've learned from some of the research on this topic. I think many folks in the agile space are familiar with Dan Pink's work with drive, autonomy, mastery, and purpose as being really core motivators for how we think about work. And there's other research, of course, that supplements it. So when we feel a sense of meaning or purpose in what we're doing, that's intrinsically motivating and rewarding. And so, that contributes to our sense of well-being. It decreases our feelings of hostility and stress and depression at work. And, when I think about this, for agile coaches in particular, most of us, I think, are highly motivated by a purpose. Like this is something that speaks to it, that we're doing this work because we see something intrinsically valuable about being able to navigate through change, about being able to treat others as human beings in the workplace. And so we're called to this work because we see their alignment with value, our personal values, the purpose that we see. At the same time, I know, at least for myself and for many of the people that I've worked with and talked to over the years in this work, is that it can feel, we often don't get the feedback that we would need to know that we are making the impact that we want. So you might not hear from a leader or from a team that the things that you're sharing with them have made a difference. In fact, you might get the opposite information quite regularly. You might hear, you might get resistance, you might get people, pushing against you, or you might feel like there's no value to what you're adding. And I would just like to share here that I think one of the things that when we're reframing our mindset about this is recognizing that so much of the impact that you're having is outside of your view. So if you think of, there's many things that that we do appreciate and we get value from, but for most people are trained to not really acknowledge or appreciate them verbally and unless there's some kind of problem. So if you think about right now, all of us are sitting here connected on the internet with electricity. How many of us called up the company today, the electric company today, say, thank you so much for providing my electricity. So we only call them when it stops working. So, some of the work that we do can feel similar to that. So, as we tune to our purpose, part of it is an internal measure. Do I feel like I served the team or the leaders or the organization in the way that I could do best? whether or not they say something back to me, whether or not I get that feedback may be years down the road, or you may never hear of it. It doesn't mean that you're not having the impact that you want. So I'm just curious, any thoughts about this or any experience of feeling a little bit like you're working towards a purpose, but you don't get any external validation that you're actually being successful in that? Has anybody had that feeling in this group, especially with the work of agile coaching? If you'd like to share, go ahead and put something in the chat or take yourself off mute. Give a little space here.
I'll take myself off mute, try and
Yeah.
encourage people to speak. So I must admit, especially in my early days when I didn't know how to facilitate properly and stuff like that, I always wondered, am I doing the right things and stuff like that? And also when I learned how to facilitate and get people to talk, you could see the feedback and I found more positivity then. So I think it definitely is something I experienced. I hope other people, it's not just me.
Yeah, absolutely. So like, I'll just share, something that happened to me even this week. Like, as I was thinking about, I've been putting things out here on LinkedIn for a while and in different groups around this topic. And, some different people will tell me, I'll have conversations. Some of you lovely people who are on the call right now, someone will say, oh, I heard this thing and it was inspiring to me. Well, it's easy for me to think, sometimes I can get into my head in a negative way around like, I don't know if this is any, like Anne Marie was on a call with me just yesterday where I'm saying, I don't know if this is going to be useful for anyone. I'm having self-doubt. And one of our colleagues shared, oh, here's someone that I don't know personally, that Michelle does not know. One of our colleagues shared that he had been in a conversation where this person had mentioned my name, not knowing that he knew me, and said that she was inspired by some of the things I've been sharing. Well, holy cow! Here's some that's just kind of random to find out that a person I never met had heard something that I had said and had an impact on them. So I would say that that's not unique to what I am doing. That's certainly happening for the work that all of you are doing. You may not be hearing about the impact that you're having for others, but it is certainly there. So the thing that keeps us going is having this kind of internal awareness that what we are doing is meaningful, it is impactful, it's changing people's lives. So as we move into this reflection, I'd like you to think about, really allowing yourself to sit in the fact that you are providing tremendous value to people and thinking about an experience where that comes forward very clearly for you. So just thinking about a time when you genuinely felt that you made a positive impact. And that could be, for a single person, it could be for a team, it could be for an organization. So if right now you're in a tough spot and it's hard to recall a past experience, go ahead and imagine what that will look like in the future. What would that impact be in the future? So think about the time that you made a positive impact and you knew that in your core. What were you seeing, hearing, and experiencing when that was happening? What told you that you were really making a difference? Oh, I see Anne Marie adding, yeah, this reminds me more actively acknowledge our appreciation of others. It helps others see and feel that. Yes, Marguerite. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is a muscle we can build and we can share. Yeah. Anne Marie, lovely. We never know whose life or change influence in the moment with the gift of our presence. Exactly. Beautiful. Beautiful. And Constantino's my biggest challenge in the beginning is I tried to create purpose and have impact on what we're doing based on my assumptions of what needs to be fixed. Yeah, yeah. So that disconnect, our assumptions versus how we're really serving, that can prevent us from seeing the real difference we're making. Sometimes the real difference we're making is just being a kind human being and listening. So as we're thinking, okay, what are the things you're seeing, hearing, experiencing? Kathy says my team was collaborating at a whole different level. Yeah, some of that's very subtle. Yuji, when I told a team member that I believed in her, oh, I'm like getting emotional here. So this is really beautiful. Yeah. What else were you seeing, hearing, or experiencing? Who were you serving? What difference did you make for them? Just thinking about that. Who did you serve? What difference did you make? Hey, no worries, Jeff. Yep. Whenever you come back, we'll try to join you back in. Yep. Having impact. I've seen emotions calming, seen folks mobilize new clarity and agency. Feels great to see them following the framework, delivering increment. They recently jumped in. Yeah, seen success. Small things. People smiling more, talking and interacting more, being present more, cameras on. Yes, these are all signs. Like it may not be some splashy case study that you're going to see published in Harvard Business Review about how you transform this company and saved $1 billion. It may just say you made people's lives a little better. Eugene, more confidence and quieter members speaking up. Ah, love this. Wonderful. Okay, a few more questions here in this reflection. What was it about you or the situation that allowed that experience to emerge? Thinking about that. What was it about you or the experience or the situation that allowed the experience to emerge? See Constantino saying, it's great when you see the aha moment in the faces of people when explaining something. Yes. Yes, that's a sign that you succeeded that day. Yeah. Kumar, active listening may not solve the problem directly. It works as healing for the person. Yes. Nigel, ability to create the space. Yeah. So as you're thinking about like what that ability to create this, what did you need to be able to do that? Maybe that's taking the minute to have your dance party before those are these things that we need to preserve and protect because that's what allows us to make that impact. Lego. Yeah, meeting people where they are. Started with Joe says one started with a team was just starting Andrew walking by a group of three of them looking at the same group swarming. Yes, see these little things. They're so subtle, but they're meaningful. Allowing the person to feel seen. I love that, David. Okay, one last question here. What does this reflection tell you about your true purpose? Your true purpose. It would be nice to have numbers and ROI and all that stuff to back up, the value of what we're doing. But everything that you all have shared here to me seems tremendously valuable and priceless, I would say. Helping people to smile, helping people to work together, helping people to learn. Feels almost wrong to put a price tag on that. All right. Sriracha, feeling happiness. Yeah. Hearing team members, coach others, repeating what I shared. Yes, your words are traveling farther than you know. Yes. Wonderful. Oh, purpose is to continue journey as agile practitioner, help boards agility. Yeah, sharing this memory. Wonderful. Helping teams start listening to each other, believing in themselves. I'm happy to hear the team didn't like something new they tried, but at least they tried. Yes, you're helping them to work with change. These are valuable skills. I love this. Oh, it's way more than being agile, it's being the best version of ourselves. Wow. Like there's some like transcendence that's happening right here when we're thinking about what we're doing. Amazing. Okay. All right. So we're going to move into this next space, which is thinking about, an idea that I'm sure many of you are really familiar with, the idea of flow, like flow, grow. So, when we're engaged in our work, as we know, also, this is some of the stuff that you heard from Dan Pink and Drive. Engagement leads to greater curiosity, passion, and perseverance. So how does that happen, or how does that show up for us as agile coaches? When we're thinking about it, there's that balance, that right balance between the challenge of what we're doing and our skills. So are those things equally matched? Are we being challenged by the work? Sometimes, our work can feel like it can get a little bit dull. It can get mundane, especially if you're in a daily scrum for the 10,000th time. It can get easy to just sort of zone out or glaze over, especially if you're feeling like whatever team you're coaching is not really into it. You're getting some resistance. So the challenge here is to find how can you engage in a way, even if your environment isn't providing ample opportunities for you to be challenged or to do the next thing. What's something that you can do to increase your personal level engagement and flow opportunities throughout the day? And so for some of us, we're in flow, we're trying a new skill set or we're learning something. For some of us, it's having quiet time. For some of us, it's when we're in conversation with others. So as we, sometimes we're feel burned out too because we're not challenged enough. So that, if you're feeling a little like down on your job, it may be that you need something new to stimulate that. So that doesn't have to be, oh, I go and change the company or I change a different role or have completely different work. It can be, what's the tiny thing to just mix it up and add a little bit of novelty and variety into your day. So we're going to take a look in this reflection on just noticing again, like when is this already happening? So when do you feel most engaged during the workday? What kinds of activities produce flow for you? And this answer could be different for everyone, but if you feel comfortable sharing what produces flow for you, go ahead and add that into the chat. I see Kumar saying everyone's different, everyone's potential to create value for others. Yes, I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Kumar. Others that were, or, what makes you feel most engaged? What activities produce flow for you? And they could be a variety of different things. But where is it already happening? Any thoughts there? I'm going to take a sip of water while you think about that. Okay. One for flow. One thing I've noticed for myself is that I really enjoy like writing and thinking. So how do I make space to do that work in my day? And usually that needs a couple of hours. So how do I design my calendar to make that happen? Oh, I see Nigel saying facilitating collaborative workshops. Excellent. George is doing research, sharing newly acquired knowledge, having space to do that research and raise the bar for myself and the environment. Excellent. Yuju, when preparing and facilitating workshop that's collaborative, open-ended brainstorming for Joe. Monica would help resolve an issue or provide clarity for someone based on my expertise and knowledge. Yeah, so like those, if you know that those are the times when you are feeling most engaged, maybe there's a way to amplify that if you don't feel like you've got enough of that going on right now. Sriracha said anything that involves collaboration or interactions or exchanges of thoughts. Love that. Okay, so as we were thinking about this, just to add on, what activities tend to make you feel bored, anxious, or stuck? What creates that feeling? No judgments here, right? There are things that just don't interest us. So knowing where they are, if we can kind of, remove some of them, maybe that makes our day a little bit better. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Kim. Yep. Feel free to come back whenever you want. You too, when having consulting and sharing experience with another agile coach and building idea. 40 meetings a week. Yeah, Joe, maybe there's some that you just like instantly tune out on. Can you just not go to those? I think there's a lot more opportunity to not do things than we often allow ourselves. So let's think about that. Extracting data in Excel sheet. Yeah, that if that's not your genius work, maybe somebody else can do that. Doing something that doesn't have value. Stop reading the news. Monotonous routine work. Having lack of organizational direction or strategy. Yeah. So sometimes it's like the environment we're in isn't providing that. Is there a way to like reattach yourself to something that is personally motivating, or at least rebalance the time a little bit? So we all have drudgery in our lives. Is there a way to think about that in a different way that minimizes the impact of feeling stuck? Margaret, rehashing the same conversation over and over again. Yes. And George, anything we do that hasn't been thoughtful enough for standards I'm setting for myself. Yeah, so there's a challenge here when we live in an organizational life of how to balance those things. And again, we're not trying to like completely overhaul everything, but as we're thinking about this, what might we need to remove or stop doing to create more room for flow? And this could be as simple as giving yourself permission to take one day a week or one afternoon a week to do the thing you really love. What do you need? What block do you need to put on your calendar? I would say most, like sometimes we have beliefs around what we can or can't do in an organizational context. Have we tested those assumptions? Have you asked your manager, is it okay if I spend 2 hours a week learning something? Or do I have to just go to any meeting that appears on my calendar? Very often you'll find that like these boundaries we set up for ourselves are self-created. All right. Yeah. Okay. Marguerite saying, when my ideas are blocked. Yep. But without the yes and. Yeah. Exactly. Letting go. Yeah. What could we experiment with? So one of my favorite experiments to do is just stop doing something and then see if anybody notices. Got permission to do that from a boss about 15 years ago, and it's truly life changing. So maybe there's some things like that. Yeah. Yep. Getting on the same page with your leader's expectations. Wonderful. scream test for our work life. Marguerite, what is a scream test? You got to share with us what this is.
Okay, so Scream test is basically just, I think it comes from software development, but it's the idea of like if you just stop doing something, stop a process, then you kind of just wait a few days and see if anybody says anything about it, right? Like, is anybody noticing that you're maintaining this system? Is anybody noticing that updates are coming? Or is everybody okay with just how things are currently? Right. And so the way I apply that to work life is sometimes if I'm having the same conversation over again or going to meetings where no one's actually asking for my input or engagement, I'm just on the list, right? Then I'll just stop attending. Right. And if nothing happens, great. That's one meeting I don't have to go to. If someone does say something, and it's like, great, then we can have a conversation of what value do you expect me to have when I'm attending that meeting? And then I can prepare for that. Right.
Yeah.
And make sure that I'm actually adding the value you're expecting. Because for me, it feels like I'm just there when I could be doing something else. Right?
Yes. Yes, exactly. So allowing yourself to experiment with the things that you hate doing and see, do you really need to do them? Is there do they actually need to be done? How do we, to use one of our agile principles, how can we maximize the art of the work not done? So embracing simplicity in our own work life, giving yourself permission to do that. Those are all things that we can do to give more room for flow. Usually it's pretty clear the things that we like to do. The problem is the stuff that gets in the way. So how do we dampen that? Okay, great. All right, so we've got a couple more, and then we're going to get into a little bit of a sprint planning for how to apply some of the things that we're learning. Before I go into this next one, though, I just want to do a little quick check. How's everybody feeling about what we've been doing so far? Any insights, questions, or things to bring up at our midpoint here? Not yet. Okay. Okay. If anything comes up, let me know. All right, great. All right, so this next one is appreciative awareness, which I connect to this idea of like creating a sense of accomplishment, like really tuning in to noticing what's going well. In a standard kind of retrospective, we always have some kind of space for what's going well. How many of you, and with the teams that you work with, that's the part that you spend the least amount of time on in a retrospective? Like, what's going well? Oh, 2 or 3 things. We don't need to talk about that. Moving on to like what didn't go well or what we need. It feels like that's just fluff, and the meat and potatoes is the stuff that is a problem. This is very prevalent, at least I've seen in folks who are focused on continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is great. I'm not trying to bash that in any way, but there is a lot of research there that shows when we're noticing what's working well, that enhances our feelings of self-efficacy. It helps us to move forward in a positive way, and it increases our enjoyment of what we're doing. So things that are going well, and like if you're really kind of in a very tough spot, this can be super basic. This could be things like, hey, I woke up and I'm breathing. Or, there was a bird outside my window. Glad that some nature still exists somewhere. Could be, I have people in my life, or, I have the pleasure of a job that I hate. That could be a thing, like, oh, lucky for me that I get to have something that I'm wrestling with. So, that's taking a little bit of a dark view of things, but in general, if we slow down long enough to notice and just pay attention, there's a lot more that's going right than there is that is going wrong. And, our brains are wired for negativity bias. We see this with the news. It gets flooded, but what's out there, or like what's really here, and things to appreciate about our life, there's just an abundance of opportunities to increase that sense of appreciation and develop our awareness for this. The other thing that I'll add, as many of you have already pointed out as we've gone through these different reflections, is that as we spend time enhancing our own ability to pay attention to what's working well, or to feel connected to our impact, or to make space for other people, we are modeling this behavior very powerfully for others. So if you're working with a team and they're trying to do a new way of working for the first time, they're going to be uncomfortable with that. Anytime we learn something, it's uncomfortable. We don't feel expert. We don't feel like we know what to do. When you're noticing what's working well and helping the team to appreciate that in a genuine way, you're bolstering their sense of confidence. They're feeling that they can be successful. And so spending time for this for yourself has a ripple effect that you can spread out to the others that you are serving. So as we move through this reflection, let's take a look at, thinking, sometimes we think about accomplishment in these big, headlines. We can think about that. When have you felt a major sense of accomplishment? What led to that feeling? So that might be the most obvious thing so we'll start with, something that made, like, what was it about that made you feel accomplished or proud? And we'll take a look at kind of bringing this down to a little bit of a smaller level, but just starting with something big that stands out. If you want to go ahead and share something, you can absolutely do that. I see some comments here. Joe saying, let the retros close out with compliments and calls. Very nice. Good way of ending on a positive note. And Marguerite, celebrating little things can help refill a team's tank, especially during a long project or difficult change. Exactly. Exactly. It's easy for us to be hard on ourselves, focus on what we didn't do or what we haven't done yet instead of what we have accomplished. Anne-Marie, appreciative awareness sounds like a practice. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, appreciative inquiry. Yes, Nigel, this is, some of the foundation for what I'm sharing here today is that idea of, like, how can we notice what's working well? There's wisdom already in what we're doing. We don't have to only focus on the things that aren't working well. And we have Sriracha, when a working agreement workshop ends on a positive note. Yeah. Yeah, that's a sense of accomplishment. What else? David says, when folks on the business side of the team reach out for support based on talking with folks on the tech side. Yes, exactly. You're seeing some fruits of the labor. Wonderful. So what is leading to that sense of accomplishment? What is creating it? And if thinking about a big thing, we don't have anything in mind right now, just thinking about when you feel like you've had a good or productive day. What's true about that? When you feel like you've had a good or a productive day, what's something that you noticed there? For me, when I was feeling really frustrated at work, I noticed that I could feel like I had a pretty good day if I just stuck to some of my routines for things that I knew made me feel good. So I spent time, like, okay, having doing a little meditation in the morning. If I went and I did my run over lunch, if I spent some time talking with somebody one-on-one, having a real connection, even if I didn't feel like I accomplished anything, I would feel at the end of the day I had a pretty good day if I stuck to those kinds of routines. Anything else that other people notice makes you feel like you've had a productive day or a good day? Maria says, investing time with people. Yeah, mentoring, teaching, sharing, giving. George, doing hard things, getting out of my comfort zone. Yes, yeah. I'm gonna skip in my step. I love that. After great, productive, at the same time, fun-filled interactions with team members. Yes, yes. And so many of these things that you've shared already, these are things within our control, right? These are things that we can choose to put in our day. Like, okay, today I'm going to challenge myself and learn something new. Today I'm going to spend time, trying to give back to somebody or make sure that I'm supporting a team member. It could be I'm going to bring fun into whatever meeting I'm in. That doesn't mean everybody else is bringing fun, but I'm going to bring some fun. Yeah, having a fun or insightful conversation. So much of that is just preparing yourself for these kinds of experiences, and being open and ready to have a good time. So wonderful. Okay, last question on this one. What is there to appreciate about where you are right now? What might you be overlooking? So sometimes, if we're in a kind of difficult spot, it can be easy to just be focused on that and think about that as a static or permanent condition. If we think about, well, what's the story you're going to tell when you've overcome all of that? What is this moment teaching you right now? These are different things, different ways of framing difficulty. I like to tell my family before we go on vacation, either we're going to have a great time or we're going to have a great story to tell afterward. So if you're not having a great time, what's the great story that you'll be able to tell? And Marie says, "Oh, she's appreciating. I am where I need to be. I love that." George says, "The space I'm being given, work-life balance, lack of micromanagement, show of trust." That's beautiful. These are so often the things that are wonderful in our lives, we don't appreciate them until they are gone, and then we realize how great they are. If you're healthy or nearly healthy and you get a cold, you realize like, oh, breathing through my nose is pretty nice. I didn't stop to think about how great that is when I had it freely. Oh, Serge, having my daughter with me. David says, I tend to focus on the bigger things and would benefit from looking at all things, even small ones at once. Yeah, mindfulness. Appreciate all the progress you've made, accomplishments so far. That's right. Yeah, exactly. A little trick there. If we think back to, what would I have thought about this? Like, did I think whatever I'm doing right now is possible 5 years ago? That can show you how far you've come. Wonderful. Okay. All right. Our last one that we're looking at today is maybe my favorite. Because and I think it's not just my favorite. This one has really been shown in the research to be the most impactful thing. So if we're spending time, in terms of effect on our well-being, antidote to depression and stress, relationships with people, creating community. So I call this, creating community wherever you go, building relationships through positive interactions. So, Martin Seligman, who's the founder of positive psychology, he says other people are the best antidote to the downs of life and the single most reliable up. That's pretty cool. Cool. And, so I really don't need to tell a group of agile coaches to prioritize individuals and interactions because you already know that. But one of the things that when we think about the kinds of interactions that we're having, and their effect on building community is it's important to think about the balance or the ratio between positive interactions and negative interactions. And when we're looking, when we're really focused on the work and improving things, it can be easy to start any conversation with, well, here's all the things that we need to get better. Here's the problems that we need to fix. But there's been some research on this, like for every negative interaction, we need 5 positive interactions to keep the relationship in a good place. So, if you're a get down to business kind of person, well, what's something to include in that that's also, acknowledging the person, taking time with them, appreciating their effort, doing something to make sure that positive to negative ratio is in the healthy zone. And so just like we were talking about with appreciative awareness, noticing what is working is a way of providing value and creating those positive interactions. And, so when we're thinking about the impact that we're having on others, just bringing that like, okay, how can I be of service? I think all of you have that on your mind all of the time. How can you be of service just in bringing a smile, bringing your own sense of calm into a conversation or your own positivity? So taking whatever you need to show up in that way is absolutely well worth it, and will help others. So you're building community by doing that. Monica saying, appreciating all the progress you made. Oh, that was from before. Sorry. Okay, great. So just as we go through this reflection, we're going to talk about, what are the things that help you personally have that sense of community and support that you need. So what are the activities that help you feel connected and engaged with those around you, help you have that sense of community and engagement with others? Anything that anyone would like to share here? Welcome to.
Accepting the invitation from others.
Yes. I love that, Anne Marie. Accepting the invitation. What? Saying yes. You too. Having lunch with colleagues and family. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we're all eating multiple times a day. So there's many times a day that we can have an opportunity to create some community. Well, I also surround myself with other like-minded people. That's why I'm here. I'm so glad you chose to be here, Lyle. Yeah. You see that, here are other people who are craving that same kind of connection and positivity and wanting to be around people who are celebrating what they're doing and celebrating each other. This is huge. Monica, volunteering. Yes, Monica's a tremendous volunteer. Spending time giving back. It's wonderful. What else? Other kinds of activities help you feel connected and engaged with those around you? Playing a game.
Asking for help when I need it.
Yeah, yes. Allowing other people to serve you. That can be very difficult sometimes. We get, like in our heads about, oh, I should be able to do all this myself. It's what a gift to help someone. Isn't that something that boosts all of us to feel like we've helped someone? And when we give someone else an opportunity, we're doing both of ourselves a favor. David says, my coaching team is a chat going all day. We make each other laugh. Laughing is connection. Yes, fun and games, just like being silly. I have a little book I keep on my desk for when I'm just like kind of in a funky mood, or which is, this book is literally just pictures of animals, cute animals that will make you feel better. So, it's like somebody's having a bad day. I'm like, hey man, I don't know. That one help? Maybe we're feeling like we need this baby elephant. I don't know. Anyway, it's something that's lighthearted and fun. It doesn't have to be productive or purposeful. Okay, next reflection here. What kinds of interactions are draining for you? How might you minimize their impact? Yeah, what kinds of interactions are draining for you? I have a little expression I learned from my grandfather. He would say this all the time, which was, don't pay attention to grumps. And as much as I would like to believe, that, like, I do believe that everyone has someone who enjoys them. There's somebody who finds a treasure in each person. I want to believe that is absolutely true. Some people, though, they may not be, I might not be their type of person. They may come off to me as a bit of a grump. But if we allow that kind of attitude to seep into how we're feeling, it turns us into a grump. That doesn't help anyone. So yeah, what are the ways that we can minimize those kinds of interactions? Yeah, George says controlling people. Yeah, or all day meetings, says Dave. Yeah, yes, they're draining. How do we kind of minimize or limit, or if you have to do one of those things for that, what is a little boost you can make for yourself at the beginning or the end of the day? How can you bookend it in a way that takes undoes some of that draining effect? Drama, says Lyle. Yes, yes. Yep, just opting out of that. Not hooking into that. Other kinds of interactions you find draining, ways to minimize their impact. Sometimes, being in a tough situation, then having a lovely person to go and talk to about it, someone to vent to. That can be a wonderful way to just minimize the impact there. Okay, last question here. Where do you feel celebrated? What tells you that you're supported and appreciated? Want to spend more time in these kinds of interactions. Yeah, conversations where we might be stuck in who is right. Oh yeah, I'm assuming that is a draining kind of thing for you, Amber. Yes, exactly. These ideas of who is right, who is wrong. That is exhausting. Where do we feel celebrated? I've had the privilege of working in a few large companies where there's teams of coaches, and those kinds of communities are really nice because you've got like other people doing the same kind of work. You can relate to one another, share challenges. I've also worked in places where I've been the only person doing my job, and that can be really, really tough. And so I found, over the years, collecting people from other jobs or old friends and ways of staying in community with them can make a huge difference to how I feel about my work. Oh, Nigel, when people want to know more, George, when you feel trusted, yeah. Lyle, seeing others succeed who have helped achieve their success. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, exactly. Anne Marie, when others acknowledge me, I see you, I hear you, I feel you, appreciate me. Thank you. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Like, where can we find those communities and build those communities? Wonderful. Okay. Okay. So we've gotten through, kind of our 5 core things. I didn't share with this with you to begin with, but these practices that we're talking about, the scientific basis is the PERMA model. So I don't know if any of you have encountered that, but Martin Seligman had put together, from the research, what are the things that lead to flourishing and well-being? PERMA model is a way of thinking about it. So PERMA is an acronym for positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement or accomplishment. So those, we've just covered those in a slightly different order with a little bit of a twist, but all of these, have been very well studied. And so, if you're going to invest time in them, you can feel pretty confident that there's going to be a positive result. So what we're going to do now is we have about a half hour left in our time. And if you have to drop, no worries, don't feel bad. This has been wonderful to have so many great reflections and thoughts so far. And so what we'll move into now, though, is bringing the things that you've been thinking about, the things that you've been reflecting on and noticing for your work, and putting them into practice with some experiments. So we're going to design some experiments for greater flourishing and well-being. And so I'd like, let's think like Agilists. Let's break it down, make it small, something that we can inspect and iterate and adapt. And so in your workbook here, we've got on page, let me see, which page are we on? We're on page page 7 and 8. So I just want to take a moment before we get into this experiment. Just jot down anything that you've noticed for yourself about each of these. Feeling good. Like, what's a thing that stands out for you that you would a happiness habit, something that you could do on a daily basis. So we're thinking, this small time investment doesn't require a lot of extra resource, something you could do on your own. What's something that you might like try to practice with to have positive emotions, to feel impact and purpose, to flow and grow, to have greater appreciative awareness, or create community. So we'll take a moment, just jot those down, and then we're going to come up with a little sprint plan together and figure out how we can apply this to our lives in the next 2 weeks. Like, let's not let that be just a thought that flitters away. How do we actually apply it to what we're doing? All right. Thank you, David. See you later. He may have already dropped. Wonderful. Okay. Just give you a moment to think about all of that.
And Michelle, you
Okay.
have a
Yeah.
question from George in the chat.
Oh, let me see. Where is George? Oh, expand more on the job you were only doing. You're the only one doing your job. How did I address it? Oh, yeah. Thank you, Maria, for calling my attention to George's question. Yeah. So for the way that I've handled that when I've been the only person doing my role is to connect with people outside of my company and ask for advice and ask for support and do that on a regular basis. So if I had, people that I worked with at a previous job or a mentor, from a class or something how do I schedule regular time with people who I know can support me, give me good advice, help me think of things in a different way? And so, I've been kind of very aggressive, I guess, about saving that time for myself. So as I've left a job and left some colleagues that were, trusted colleagues, I knew I could get great feedback from, who would tell me you're heading in a wrong direction, or maybe you should think about it this way. Keep meetings on the calendar with those people maybe it's every 2 weeks, maybe it's once a month, but just make sure that I've got those, I'm not letting those ties go away. So I've got my, personal group of people that are helping me. But I also think, I've used signing up for classes, signing up for, cohort-based learning where you can build community. So Marguerite's on the call. Marguerite and I met each other 4 years ago as part of our coaching program, and we still talk to each other like every other week that get support and help on our coaching work. So, there are wonderful ways to do that outside of the bounds of your organization. I hope that answers your question, George. Do you have anything else that you wanted to expand on there?
The supporting groups is amazing. I don't question that at all, and I'm already trying to do that. I'm already doing that.
Yeah.
Like, my thing is, how do I shift my mindset to actually not be bothered by my fellow colleagues who are supposed to be doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, but they are
Yeah.
not doing them. It's like
Yeah.
that thing that I'm trying to deal with right now.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. That may be another conversation, but it's, really,
Yeah.
how, like, focusing on, okay, whatever, like, how do you do the things that you need to do? When I've found that I've been unsuccessful in influencing others, I tend to focus on how can I be an example of what I want to, and just see, focus on what I'm doing, focus on the impact I'm making, how I'm showing up, and do that consistently rather than getting into some kind of sparring with people who I disagree with. And let's let the results speak for themselves. And also, what can I learn? There might be what is bothering me about them? Is it a thing that I don't really understand, or a difference I don't appreciate? Is there some way that I can look at what they're doing from a learning mindset? And that may not be, I don't have to agree, but what can I learn from what they're doing? And sometimes I'm learning that's not my style, and that's not something I would want to do. I'm learning those are
Fair
people I
enough.
probably don't want to work with. But you're sitting comfortably in your own space, allowing yourself to focus on that, and then seeing what you can gather from observing others around you. Okay, all right. So let's go ahead and move a little bit more into these, creating our sprint plan. And I see another message coming through. Oh, George, did you oh, Marguerite asking George, do you want to go ahead and ask your question out loud, Marguerite? We have time.
Great.
Yeah.
If George is game, right? No pressure. Then I'm curious. You mentioned that you were frustrated with your colleagues. I'm curious if they also think they're supposed to be doing the things that you think they should be doing. Because in my own experience, when I've been frustrated with colleagues and I finally have a conversation with them about it, they tell me, like, oh no, I've been under the impression I've been crushing it and I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing until I ask them about it. That's oftentimes the first time they're hearing anybody's expecting anything else from them.
Yeah, that's a very fair question. And the thing is, no, Scrum, it's it's a framework. It doesn't have many rules. Like, you need to follow 3, 4, 5 basic things. If, let's say, you are okay as a Scrum Master to let go of the retro in each and every sprint and have it once every 3 months, every 4 months, every 6 months. Like, the way I see it, you are more or less failing the team and yourself in your role, because you're not managing to, and maybe managing is not the right word right now, but you're not um, achieving to make them understand, make the team understand what's the purpose of that specific meeting, why we are benefiting from a retrospective, what we are expecting to get out of it, how we can get stronger out of a retro and move forward. Like, if you're seeing small things like that and nobody's saying anything, it's like, okay, this is not an unreasonable expectation that I would be waiting from my leader to say, I'm expecting you to hold retros on a every sprint basis. No, I'm talking about so basic stuff that
Yeah.
kind of blow my mind. I'm like, okay, so should I just lean back and let the team do whatever they want without providing feedback, without doing what I consider to be a very important part of my role and why I am there? I
Uh,
hope I'm answering the question and I'm making
Yeah.
sense.
These are like, I think, very common kinds of scenarios, right? Where we're in an environment, we have a shared goal, we have something we're working for, and then there's like inconsistent understanding or application. So let's test out some of what we've been talking about today by taking, we've got this noise in the environment. So an experiment might be, George, like, and we'll do this all of us together, thinking about, if none of that were to change, if you were unable to influence any of these other people's behavior, could you somehow still improve your own experience of this environment by doing some of the things that we've talked about? So we'll talk through now, like how to put this together in terms of, what's one or two things, a little habit to try over the next 2 weeks, and just see, how do you feel about this situation? If you spend a little bit more time, okay, you have a frustrating encounter with a colleague and you go and do a hard workout right after that. What happens to your perspective on this situation and the options that you see available after you spent some time just investing in how you're feeling about the situation? So let's see, we've got a little bit of time now. We're going to take about 10 minutes to design a very loose, set of experiments to run over the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to give you some prompts to think about. And if you'd like, we can go into some small breakouts just to talk about that. With that, can I get like thumbs up, or I don't think they have a thumbs down. If you're game for a little breakout experience, does that sound good? Okay, cool. All right. So I'm just going to explain the prompts, and then I'm going to send you into short breakouts to talk about this with one other person, get some ideas going. So the prompts are here. What is the behavior that you'd like to try? Don't think big, think small. What's one little thing you can do on a regular basis? How will you incorporate this behavior in your routine? So how do you make it into a habit instead of just a one-time kind of thing? What would be the trigger there to include that in your routine on a daily or weekly basis? What resources or support do you need in order to make this a part of your daily life for at least the next week or two? What are some demonstrable measures of success, or what would you consider acceptance criteria for the experiment? So what would tell you that the time you're spending doing this experiment is worth continuing, or something you would want to change? And lastly, what might get in the way of putting this idea into practice? So I'm going to give you some time now to discuss this with in small groups. I'm going to put, maybe, let's see if we'll do groups of 2 or 3. So I'm going to start the breakouts now, and we'll just have about 5 minutes here, and then we'll come back together for a wrap up. So let me get that going. All right, how many people? We've got 18. So I'm going to make 6 rooms. Let me know if you have any issues when you get into the breakout rooms. We'll come back in about 5 minutes and just debrief and close for the day. Okay, here we go. Welcome back.
I pressed the wrong button. I should have been in. Yeah,
That's okay. Yeah, we're coming back now, so everybody should be joining in just a minute or two.
yeah, I cut my sentence halfway
Oh,
myself.
I'm sorry about that. It
Yeah,
always happens with the
yeah,
Zoom.
stupid Zoom. It just shows there, and the fingers involuntarily go and click it. So,
Exactly.
but anyway, I enjoyed it. So thank you so far.
Very good. Wonderful.
And this is all the
Okay.
PERMA model, based on PERMA model, or
Yeah, yep.
awesome.
Very cool. Welcome back, guys. All right, we've got just a few more rooms coming back now. Looks like we're getting everyone. Okay. All right, I think we have almost everyone back. Wonderful. Any shares from your breakout experience? Any experiments that you all are running that you wanted to share with the group, or insights you have from your conversations?
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
go.
go
It's too
ahead, Daniel.
short.
Yeah, please.
Okay, yeah, just real quick. I will start. I will. One of my experiments is close my day with appreciative awareness and start a thankful diary for at least one thing that happened during the day and that I'm thankful for. Either I learned something or had a good meeting or I don't know, did a good job on X or Y. I don't know. Just be appreciative every day and see through time all the things that I have accomplished.
Yeah, I love it. I do that myself. I've got a little book right here. And I write these down and it does make it, well, once you start going, it'll be interesting to hear, Daniel, if like you're able to limit yourself to one. Or if you start, as you start noticing, there's a lot more things to appreciate about the day. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else have an experiment that they plan to do that they'd like to share with the group? I see Marguerite putting in the chat, Sriracha inspired me to stretch my habit. Full of energy, awesome example of investing in your own health worth multiple times over. Oh, fabulous. That's great.
I borrowed a
Yeah.
couple from my new friends in the
Yeah,
breakout.
please. Yeah.
Well, mine was to make time to go to the office consciously at a time that I want to go and put that in the calendar. It's a longer commute, but the hybrid's difficult right now. But just make
Yeah.
that time, but realizing there's time alone and time together with the team. So instead of sitting with the team, I'm sitting at the furthest part away, but making walks to commute to them. And so I have time alone and time with them, kind of
I
set in a
love
schedule.
that. Yeah,
So incorporating walking and with
intentionality.
the, alone and together time.
I love how you frame that, Michael, because, so I don't know if any of you, like, when I learned about lean and waste, I started to get like real crazy about like, oh, transportation is a form of waste. And like, oh, well, I shouldn't, spend time going anywhere. And what I'm hearing you share is this lovely perspective of like valuing the time that you are, is this alone time? There's time to get. So you're putting different value on each of these things and that transition time. That's really cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Who else? Anybody else have something to share from an experiment that they've designed or been inspired?
Oh, I can. I'm
Yeah, go
thinking,
ahead, UJ.
I'm not good at journaling at the end of the day, but I'm very productive in the morning. So I'm gonna do a a day after kind of
Yeah,
inspect, like kind of using like what you said, like impact or feeling good around that
yeah.
area, and just note something down for 2 weeks. And a measure of success was if I'm able to confidently articulate my impact to myself, I think it's a good measure of success because right now I'm not really good at it.
That's so cool. Oh, I hope you will share with us how that goes. Awesome. Anybody else? We've got time for probably one more share if we want to hear one. All right, no worries. I'm curious, as we're wrapping up today, anything that you're taking away from today's workshop? So not just the experiments we talked about, it could be from the breakouts that you just had, it could be from, overall today in the conversation. If you're more comfortable putting something in the chat, please do. If you'd like to take yourself off of mute and share aloud, we've got some space to do that. So anything you're taking away from today?
Appreciative awareness practice.
Yeah.
The importance of happiness.
Mm-hmm. It matters. It really does. It really matters. And it makes us better at what we do. So, if we need to have a reason to like justify our own happiness, which is kind of sad when we think about that, there's a investment in our success, and that correlation has been shown many, many times. So thank you. And what else? Any other takeaways from today? Oh, George, I can't hear you. I see you talking, but I can't hear you. Yeah.
That happiness is a choice, and at the same time, it's a habit.
Mm.
It's a muscle that we need to train.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Wonderful. I see you two adding the chat. We can have control of our presence and impact by focusing on positive emotions. Yeah, it doesn't have to be reactive. It can be proactive. And isn't that a great feeling to realize that like we're in control of these things? Now, that doesn't mean that like just because you attended today's workshop and you're feeling good about things that like you never have a bad day for the rest of your life. But it does mean that you've created a little space for yourself to make a choice. Like, okay, I'm, negative spiraling. Do I continue to doom scroll, or do I make a choice to do something that I know makes me feel better? Maybe that's calling a friend, going for a walk, doing something that's on my list of things that help me, feel better. Even if it, doesn't take everything away, just a little bit of an antidote to the ups and downs that we all experience. Very cool. Well, I'm taking away just a great sense of enthusiasm from meeting all of you, hearing your ideas. You've inspired me with some different things to try. And I want to encourage you to consider joining this group that we're starting next week. So we're starting a group for positive psychology, specifically for agile coaches, to help us apply this kind of thinking and make it something that we can do together instead of just individually on our own. So if you found value from being in community with this group, if you feel like, maybe you don't have the support in your current work environment that will really help you thrive, we would love to have you as part of the group. So there's a QR code here for the informational workshop. I'm going to send out a copy of the recording today and some links if you're curious, or if you have questions about that, please let me know. But I think the work that we do as coaches is so important. The world needs more of that. The better we feel about this work, the greater impact we can have. So I really appreciate all of your time today, your interest in exploring these ideas. I wish you all the best success, and I know that it's in your control. So that's really very exciting. I would also like to just share, there's a free download here. These are my happiness habits. Yours might be different, but just some of the things that have worked for me and might be, place to get started and thinking about your own. And then, so that's at happyagilecoaches.com/5habits. You can get your free download. And then if you'd like to connect with me in LinkedIn, I'd love to hear about your experiments, how things are going, if there's any way that I can personally support you in creating a positive impact and just feeling better about your work and thriving in your work. I would love to have that connection with you. So any concluding thoughts from anybody today? Any questions or other comments as we're closing?
I have a short comment. It was very
Yeah.
positive.
Thank you, Surachi. I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you, Michelle. Great session.
Thank you. Thank you all. I see many people sharing their LinkedIn. Please do that. Like part of the goal here today was to make some connections and have some friends. So if you, see the people who are here today, if you'd like to, you had a great connection, continue that. It's a great way to keep going with the, the positive thing. So thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great weekend. Do something you enjoy. Take care of yourselves, and keep doing your great work. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Michelle.
Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Bye. Thank you.